What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sci-Fi Wednesdays. This is the USS Kelvin episode number 4 for the Apollo group build. And today we're going to be working more on the saucer, trying to do some detail work, and just seeing where we can go with the actual episode. So I did not drill out any of the portholes here on the bottom of the saucer. There are some lights and whatnot down here too. I just haven't done anything with that. I'm still working on where those are supposed to go. I have, though, been working on the upper part of the saucer and all the portholes around the bridge. They're all drilled out, as well as the portholes around the center step here in the saucer. Those are also drilled out. We are ready to go for actual fiber optic installation. Now, on the bottom part of the saucer, again, we have a little bit of work to do on that, but all of the windows and portholes around the perimeter have been drilled out. So we're looking pretty sweet on that aspect. Now, for the engineering hull and the spine here on the upper section of the decking, we have a few holes drilled out here and there. We actually closed off a lot of the other portholes because I just don't like the amount of windows that they've molded into the plastic. I feel that there are too many, and since this is an older ship, I just don't feel like they would have that many windows. So I've eliminated a few of them, and I think it looks pretty awesome, and it looked pretty neat when I go ahead and string up that fiber optics and all the LEDs. So I'm happy. I think it's going to be all right. Now for the nacelle itself, there is one little pylon area that has a ton of windows on it again. I think it's too many windows. Plus, there's no room in here whatsoever to string any cable. So we're going to have to go ahead and drill out some of that area and just make sure that it's as thin as possible, just to go ahead and fit the LEDs and the fiber optics from the base all the way up into the nacelle and then further up into the engineering hull. So that's going to be kind of complicated and a little tricky, I'd have to admit. The good news is, though, the inside of the nacelle has a ton of extra room for the LEDs and for the wires, so I'm not too concerned about that. I think we'll be able to pull it off. Now, as I mentioned before, we're going to go ahead and close off a few windows here on the neck of the nacelle, just because I think there were too many that are molded in here from Moebius. So we're going to use some super glue and my custom adapter, and we're just going to go ahead and selectively fill in certain banks of windows, and then we're going to drill out a few here and there with the hopes of being able to go ahead and string in some fiber optics. Again, there's not a lot of space in here, so that might be a little harder to do, but we're going to still try it because why not, right? This is an adventure. We're learning so much working on this model. So again, the other side too, I'm going to close off the exact same windows as I did on the other side to make sure they match up, and then we're going to move on to the saucer because I do have one issue with the top of the saucer that I think will be kind of neat to go ahead and try. Now on the saucer, you might have noticed that there's a couple of areas that have raised detail, like right here. This is a really cool look, but unfortunately it's the only area that has any of these detailing. I want to go ahead and extend that around the entire saucer. So to do that, I'm going to be using some strips of styrene. We're going to cut them into squares, rectangles, of all different shapes and sizes, and then we're going to strategically and kind of randomly place them down onto the model and just see what we can do. We've got a bunch of different strips here cut out. We're going to cut off smaller pieces and see what we can come up with. So let's go ahead and cue up a time lapse, guys, and just see what we can do and place this out, trying to get it to look random, but also functional and having these armor plating throughout the entire saucer section. All right, everybody, we have all of our lovely armor plating glued down to the saucer, and I'm hoping you're digging it because I love it. We're going to go ahead and have to kind of bring down the profiles of these armor plating, however, and to do that, we're going to use our jeweler files, kind of sand down the rough edges, and then we're going to take some sandpaper of different grits, and we're going to go ahead and just kind of smooth everything down a little bit more. We're going to make sure that everything is about the same size and nothing is too prominent, nothing has too many sharp edges. We're just going to kind of round everything off to make everything match. And that's the whole point, to take this kind of armor plating look that they captured here in plastic and extend it around the entire saucer. Now you might notice also I've left a few areas right up here in the front with minimal armor plating, one for the NCC registry number and the other for the actual USS Kelvin title. I didn't want to have to fool with a bunch of armor plating and trying to put those decals down, so instead really sparse right in those areas. Now you also might notice that I have drilled out an opening right down here where the bridge meets the saucer. Now that's actually supposed to let a little bit of light out, and I'm hoping that it will flood over the USS Kelvin and the registry numbers. But we need to go ahead and jump into that time lapse, get out our sandpaper and our jeweler files, go ahead and sand down all the armor plating and make sure that it doesn't stick up too much. So I think that looks pretty awesome, guys. As you can see here, we have an armor plating feel spread around through the entire saucer. We've got that one little opening right here in front that should hopefully shed some light down onto the USS Kelvin, and then hopefully down also onto the registry number. I love the armor plates. It gives it a little bit of 3D relief and also just adds interest to it. So I think it's going to look really awesome. When we go ahead and install the engineering hull, the rear spine there, and the deflector dish, I think it'll really tie it all together, and I might want to do a little bit of armor plating around the different parts of the hull and that neck area too. I might want to consider doing a little bit more. But anyway, guys, we got the holes drilled out. The saucer section on the top is more or less done. So let's go ahead and turn our attention to the bottom part of the saucer, see what we can do down there. Now, I had mentioned before that there are these individual lights that we need to go ahead and kind of poke holes through, and so we can feed them through, but we also need to make it match with the top. And since I added all that armor plating on top, we should probably do that down here on the bottom section as well, as long as it doesn't interfere with any of the potential floodlights or nav lights that I might install. So we need to go ahead and kind of balance that out. Also, we need to go ahead and install the edging there around the saucer. Those have to be glued in. Now, all the fiber optics are already drilled out, so that's fine, but we do need to go ahead and glue them down so we can start assembling the entire saucer. Now, the edges themselves are already drilled out. Like I mentioned, all the fiber optic openings are ready to go. We're going to take our jeweler file, we're going to sand down any nicks or any burrs that we may have left here on the plastic, and we're going to go section by section and glue it all down and to see what kind of gaps we're looking at. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and cue up a time lapse and get the entire saucer ring all glued in and ready to go. Very nice, everybody. We have the perimeter of the saucer glued down to the bottom part. We have the top part all armor plated. We've got all the portholes drilled out. We're looking pretty awesome here. So on the bottom part of the saucer, we're going to try to reproduce the randomness, but also the overall look and the shape of the armor plating that we have on the top of the saucer. I don't know exactly how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to attempt to do some nice right angles, some nice squares, very square geometric designs, and I'm going to hopefully kind of bring in that feeling of armor plating and that old school Trek vibe. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next episode, you guys know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we will see you back here on episode number 5 for the USS Kelvin here on Sci-Fi Wednesdays for the Apollo group build. Till next episode, guys, take care, and we will see you soon.